I'm Larry Walther. This is principlesofaccounting.com, Chapter 12, and in this module we will look at the other elements of employee compensation, the amounts beyond just the paycheck. These can include periods of compensated absences or paid time off. It could include sick leave, holidays, family emergency time, jury duty time, vacations, and so forth. These costs or benefits often accumulate with the passage of time. For example, an employee may earn 2 weeks of vacation a year. Companies would expense and provide a liability for these accumulating benefits when the accumulated benefits meet 4 criteria. Specifically, the accumulated benefit relates to services already rendered, it's a right that vests or accumulates, it's probable that it will be paid, and you can reasonably estimate the amount. So clearly things like accrued vacation pay would typically meet these conditions. Some of the other items may not necessarily meet these conditions. For example, sick leave, a company's sick leave policy may be less definite and not meet all of the conditions for accrual. Another category of employee benefit is a pension plan. There are a variety of types of benefit plans. A popular one is a defined contribution plan. With a defined contribution plan, an employer promises to make a periodic contribution into a separate pension fund account. This might be, for example, an amount equal to 5% of salary contributed to this pension account each period. The fund might be invested in stocks, bonds, or other approved instruments, and after a minimum vesting period, the funds essentially become the property of the employee and to their benefit once they enter retirement. Under these defined contribution plans, one of their key advantages is certainty as well as simplicity of accounting. The company simply expenses the required periodic contribution each period. The assets and obligations of the pension are transferred to the pension trust that maintains accountability over the funds and an eventual disbursement to the employees. Another type of pension plan would be a defined benefit plan. With a defined benefit plan, an employer's promise becomes more uncertain. The employee benefit in retirement will be based on factors such as how long they worked for the company, what their annual salary was, maybe during the last years of service, what their age is when they retire, and other such factors. So we're really dealing with an unknowable amount up front. Nevertheless, it needs to be accounted for. The account will often involve the work of an actuary who is someone trained to make assessments about life expectancy and workforce trends. They prepare estimates that are necessary to calculate an estimated amount of annual pension expense. In addition to calculating the expense, the company would have an obligation to make periodic fund payments into a pension trust fund. Those funds would be accumulated in investment for eventual payment to the employees to satisfy the obligations. But importantly, the company remains obligated for any shortfalls in a pension trust. The pension trust fund is underfunded relative to the outstanding promises that have been made. A pension liability would be reported on the company's books. But as a general rule, the pension assets and pension obligations that are covered by the fund are not carried on the books of the company. They're carried on the books of a separate pension trust fund. They've essentially been removed from or isolated from the company records. Finally, another huge category of benefits are post-retirement benefits related to things such as health care, prescription benefits, and life insurance. These are large cost items. However, the cost of that service or benefit to the employee needs to be expensed during the period of active employment, not while the employee is retired. So we need a good matching system so that the cost of these benefits are recorded, and our rule is that we'll record those costs over the period of service provided by the employee up to the point at which those rights vest. At that point, the cost should be fully accounted for. This will entail essentially a debit to expense and a credit to liability over the period of time that the employee is working. These liabilities are often reported on the balance sheet. Very often there's not a separate trust fund where monies are set aside to ensure the payment of these, so the company will continue to carry the obligation on their books, a very substantial balance sheet liability for many companies.